The FAR does not apply to government contractors. Greetings and welcome to the Contracting Guy. I am the Contracting Guy, and today I want to talk about something that was rather provocative, and it is from a colleague, Christoph Mlinarcik. Great guy, wonderful book. But he says the FAR does not apply to government contractors. And the first sense is, what? When I have to do things, it's with the FAR. And for those uninformed, the FAR is the Federal Acquisition Regulation, FAR. So you go, well, okay, that's fine. Then what does apply? And the question then changes to, the answer then changes to, well, the solicitation applies to the contractor, to the government contractor. The contract applies to the government contractor. Now, if you look at the FAR, it is rather voluminous. It's pretty big. Not every part of the FAR applies. In an earlier episode, I give a little bit of a test or an example of, well, if you want to find out what parts of the FAR applies to your solicitation or your contract, circle the following FAR parts. And those that don't get a circle don't apply for the most part. Why I share that with you is to kind of demystify that particular statement. The FAR does not apply to government contractors. It applies to government contractors when it is in a solicitation and you have to respond, and when it is in contract in which you have to respond. In a solicitation or a contract, even the FAR that is cited is really reflect actions that are required by the federal government or by the contracting officer. In certain cases, you need to know what is being expected of the federal contracting officer so that you know how to respond. So they're required to react or deal with it. You're required to respond at some times. For example, if you were to submit a protest, how to respond is in the FAR. You need to know that. If you are going to submit a dispute or a claim, you need to know that it's in the FAR. If you are going to look at certified cost and pricing and things of that nature, you need to know that it's in the FAR. Because when you fill it out according to whichever part, the government will evaluate it based on what the part requires. And if you provide something that is not required or is over the top, or you do not provide what is required, then they can turn you down. They can toss your stuff out. So it's important to know the parts that are involved with the particular procurement that you're working on. So if it's in a solicitation, you need to know that, because it tells you how to respond at times. Instruction to offerors tells you your instructions. Evaluation factors tells you what you should pay attention to in a proposal. So does it apply to you? Well, it does, but you have to look at it from the proposal standpoint, the solicitation standpoint, and the contract standpoint. It applies to that. And then you respond to those things, the solicitation and the contract itself when it's written. I hope that clarifies it. Take a look at an earlier episode. I'll have a link to it below. But remember that the FAR itself doesn't apply to you. It applies to the government. But what does apply to you, and you need to pay attention to, are the things that are in your solicitation and ultimately get into your contract. This is the Contracting Guy. I'm out. Thank you for watching The Contracting Guy. Please like, subscribe, and share the video. We'd appreciate that. This is The Contracting Guy. I'm out.